Just the other day, a client called me and she said I met this guy and he's treating me special. He's taking me places. He going to dinner. He treating me good. He tells me he really cares for me. He tells me he want to be with me. But I don't believe him. And that's because her entire life she had been misused or violated. And she came from a family that told her that she was ugly. The only thing she was good for was sex. So you go in there with that kind of mindset, and oftentimes you even sabotage relationships that come about. Okay, my name is Don C. You spell it S-E-E. I live in Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm a former executive director of a place called the Eastside Catholic Center and Shelter. And it was a program in which I had a domestic violence program, I had a homeless shelter, and I had a women program working with women who was addicted to drugs. It was a residential program, an outpatient program, and an intensive outpatient program. The budget was like something like $3.5 million. I was on some national committees dealing with HIV and AIDS back in the day. I've done that, working with women who had to deal with postpartum depression and even some PTSD when you start dealing with domestic violence. I've been in this field of treatment and chemical dependencies and mental health since 1978.
Wow.
Long time.
Yeah.
A little bit more about me. I taught psychology at the community college for about 30 years. And taught lifespan development, relationship training, developmental psychology, working with adolescents, ageism, and I've done a lot of training on such stuff like dealing with transgender, LGBTQ community, but have a little bit of experience, just a little bit.
Just a few decades of experience. That is a lot of experience. So you've been at the center of the intersectionality between all those issues before really people even knew what they were. And now that, especially like the LGBTQ community is now out in the forefront, now people are starting to understand all that these different types and groups of people go through, and we're beginning to see causality, intersectionality, parallels. How much of an impact do you think that domestic violence has with psychology, has with drug dependency, has with perhaps the LGBTQ community? What have you seen over the years as far as these different subjects?
One thing I want to look at is that when we first started working with women, for example, dealing with domestic violence, what we're really working with is just maybe the chemical dependency issues. A lot of times, if women are dealing with domestic violence, they need something to help them feel better about themselves or help them to escape the pain. So many times they'll go ahead and deal with some alcohol, some cocaine, some acid, some marijuana, whatever the case might be. And so we will work on the chemical dependency issues. But in the beginning, we never really got into the domestic violence degree as to what would cause them to get back with, let's say, these guys or these women, because sometimes it could be women on women, man on man, or man on woman, woman on man. You deal with all of it. And a lot of it had to do with their self-esteem. What is it about me that I may not like about myself? We began looking at intergenerational things that came about, i.e. in your family. Like I think I might have mentioned before, that one particular young lady, mother told her that she should have been the sperm that she should have swallowed. Now, if you hear that, you telling yourself, I'm no good for anything. Mm-hmm. I'm not worthy of anything. Your mother said to have told you I should have gave you away. Or you can say, or they may deal with issues like, I'm too skinny. Mm-hmm. And if I'm so skinny, who would possibly ever want me? Or I'm too dark, or I'm too light. Or my nose is too big. My lips are too big. I'm too short. And whatever case, and everything is relative, that. My domestic violence program and in my shelter, and we dealt with chemical dependency issues, and we dealt with the domestic violence, but we didn't deal with self-concept, and so she went back to stay with this man. So one time, she after being beaten up, she came to the shelter, and one of my domestic violence counselors was taking her to the police station to tell the police what happened to her. The man came up and saw her at the police station, told her to get in the car, and she did. Of course, she knew it was going to happen again. But the next time, she had a safety plan. In the safety plan, she had her money, her keys, her wallet, everything she needed to leave. But then what she did this time, she called me personally. And I'm the executive director at that point. And when she called me, I took her to the police station. I wouldn't worry about the man just saying anything to me. And I listened to her story for 4 hours. And she told this man that she was beaten. No, she was beaten for 4 hours. I listened for about an hour and a half. She was beaten from 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the morning. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, he had a rope around her neck and said, bitch, I ought to kill you. And she said, can we just forget this? I love you, da, 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 da. And then she left. And then they went home. He went to sleep and went to sleep snoring. And you're saying that you can tell he felt like he had done nothing was wrong. And this is just the course of things to come. Now she did, by going to the detective, she did prosecute him. He did go to jail. But from that point on, we started saying, let's look beyond the domestic violence. Let's look at what internally is going on with folks that cause them to go here and put up with those kind of relationships. How can we help build that self-esteem? How can we help them become a little bit more sophisticated about who they are? How do we tell them that? How we help them believe that they're pretty, believe that they're intelligent, and believe that they deserve more. Mm-hmm. And we did that through education and opportunities and various programs. So I'm saying that we have to go beyond just the physical, and we have to also help folks to understand you deserve more. One of my clients who had 7 kids, and she was so involved with the domestic violence that he wound up raping 3-4 of her kids, most of them 3 girls. And she was in denial that it was going on for a long time until finally the little girl spoke up, and they wanted to prosecute the man, and he wound up going to jail. Now today she's doing well. Today the mother who was the victim there too, she went back to school, she got a master's degree, and she's actually working in the field. Okay. And she's a strong advocate. But all the kids are very defensive and always on guard and always very protective of their kids, and they don't trust anyone. A lot goes on, and they can be dangerous. And a lot of times we have to also help them look at the cues. When you talk to someone, listen to what they're saying to you. Talk to them about their background. Find out what kind of relationship they have with their exes. Whether it's another man or another woman, what kind of relationship do you have? And the LGBT community, there's a lot of domestic violence that goes on. male on male, female on female. I mean, one lady told me one time, he said, I don't want to be with a man because I know, based upon the family that she lived in, I can never beat a man. So at least with a woman, I can fight back. I have a chance of winning. So it's a lot of challenges that goes on, and things that people do to you. I had a woman, she was biracial, and her stepfather was white, and her mother was white, and her father was black. The man did not like the fact that she was biracial, and he would do things like put stuff inside of her, and you put a razor blade in her and told her don't move. I mean, and remember, think about this. This is PTSD to the 9th degree, and you dream about that. You see that. You wake up to it, and then we got to teach folks to understand they did nothing wrong. No man, no woman should hit you. So we began to develop a program, teach them how to pay bills, teach them, help them get a job, teach them how to walk, teach them how to try to identify, signs and symptoms of someone who may be that aggressive. Teach them what kind of questions to ask, but you have to.
Men especially, who are used to the power, they have the money, they're used to the attention. You add all of those together, and as far as they're concerned, they can do what they want with whomever, however, whenever. It's starting to catch up with them though. It's starting to catch up because you see more of these men in power in these, especially in the film industry. These women are starting to come out and fight back and link arms, and they're being prosecuted and going to jail. So that's a good thing, but it's starting to let people know just how prevalent it is and the dangers that there are and what can be done and the work that still has yet to be done. The
Right.
fact that it's still happening and it's happening in industries like entertainment that the women still there. They're still so powerful. They're beautiful. They have money. They're affluent. And you would think, who in the world, it wouldn't happen there.
Mm-hmm.
It happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
I may see someone who's gorgeous,
Mm-hmm.
from head to toe, mentally and physically. But as I said earlier, if they don't think that, and they don't feel they deserve any better, or they feel like they don't have that power,
Mm-hmm.
then they will allow things to happen to them, and they don't even know they're allowing it. And what makes it so bad, what people perceive as being pretty or talented, you yourself may not believe it. The person may not believe it. But if you don't believe it, what does it mean? You still give up your power.
Yep. I do want to comment on that last thing about power, giving up your power. Women are taught to be, throughout the generations, society teaches women to be subservient, to yield their power to the men, for the men to be the head of the household or take the lead or this or that. We have to rewire and retrain the brains of human beings in order for us to believe that we're equals. We're trying to have balance, but we aren't quite there yet. So it's going to take, I guess, infiltration on an individual level.
We need to retrain men because see,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes a man don't know how to appreciate the power of his partner or her partner. Okay, because and when you say that, it made me think of a particular person that I have worked with. Talented lady, smart lady, team player, a lot smarter than the man. But the man is so defensive and so angry. Only thing he can think about or hear is what he thinks. It's not like we're teaching folks that, hey, put yourself in her shoes, put yourself in his shoes. Let's create a balance. Let's go for the best solution. But if the other person questioned that man, he jumps on the defense. And she thinks she got something. She thinks she got something that's great, but basically, excuse my expression, he's an asshole. Mm-hmm. And I wanted her to come back to see me so bad, so I can tell her, leave that man alone, because she can do a whole hell of a lot better. But if she don't think it, right, or well, because she had other bad experiences, and see, we take our previous experience with us. Remember one time, I was talking to a person, and we were talking about the lady, and the woman said, "I'm not her," and the man said, "And I'm not him." Well, who is him? Him is the man who disrespected you. Him is the man who hurt you. Him the man who took your Social Security number. Him the man who used up your credit card. Him the man who didn't respect you at all and cheated on you. Him is that man. I'm not him. But because of everything that happened, they carry that information on forward, and they sabotage the other relationships that may come out that might be positive. Mm-hmm. But the other relationship was clearly not positive. But that fear gets in the way. Well, in my world, it's probably very prevalent, because since I was dealing with that group of people, mm-hmm, a lot of folks, when they have an issue, they use drinking and drugging to escape that, mm-hmm, so they don't have to deal with those issues. You go back to, I'm thinking of this other particular situation. The man is insecure. The man thinks that he was always ugly, and they told him that he would never be shit. Okay, and so he goes on to prove that he's going to be someone in his life. And so what he does is he get a good job. He started dealing with multiple women because they always said he was ugly, and now he got the center of attention and dealing with multiple women. The woman sees that and says, "What's wrong with me? Am I not pretty enough? Am I not sexy enough? Am I not a good sex partner? And why is he hitting me?" So what she does is she starts to drink. And next thing you know, 15, 20 years later, she's an alcoholic. Well, nothing that he did had anything to do with her, but she absorbed his issue, put it on her like it was her fault. Now, oftentimes folks can't move on from that. They're saying that his issue is his. Let him go. You know, that's his insecurity. That's his need to be constantly reinforced. When you get yourself together, maybe you can call me back. But by then it's too late, because now she's involved with these drugs, and her liver's gone, and eventually dies. It's highly prevalent. I had one lady who was being beaten, who was in my drug program, and always drinking. And one time the man said, she put a gun on him, and she said, he said, I'm sorry. He said, "Bitch, I'm gonna take that gun, I'm gonna beat your ass." And she shot him and killed him. And he was the father of her 3 kids. But she was tired of being beaten. Now, I don't think she didn't spend no jail time. But behind that, imagine how she felt now. I done killed my baby's father, mm-hmm, or my 3 kids' father.
Eventually, those kids are going to ask about that. They're going to wonder why. They're going to need to know the story.
Yeah. And she had every right to kill him, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Because if not, eventually he was going to kill her. So it took a long time to finally begin to deal with that. And that was one of the things that we were helping her deal with or work with. And what the systems do sometimes, and one of my colleagues was telling me the other day, the Department of Human Services, this woman had 5 or 6 kids, and she had been raped at age 14, and she was constantly involved in domestic violence relationship. And as opposed to the county working, seeing that this woman is a victim of domestic violence, they took all her kids.
Yep.
As opposed to working with the woman. And see, and that's something that we got to get out of blaming the victim.
And how long ago was this case that you're referencing right now?
Oh, this one right here is going on right now.
Yeah, I get that a lot. More and more and more survivors and victims that I come across and interview, that happens quite a bit. And you're in Ohio and I'm in California. So this is like a national issue with the government and the human resources. It's a big problem. Victim shaming and blaming the victim. I don't like, for instance, you have a mother and you have a child and children, right? And she has tried to leave and tried to leave and tried to leave and tried to leave. And finally she gets out and she's able to leave and she's able to take the kids with her. So she goes to the Department of Public Social Services or whatever that county affiliate might be for your state. And instead of getting her the counseling and getting the kids the counseling and trying to help find the mother and the kids housing and the mother substance abuse, whatever the services that the family unit needs at that point, instead of doing that to make sure the entire unit is healthy, they split up the unit. So why? Now the children have not only gone from a household of domestic violence, now they're being separated from the one parent that they know watches out for them.
Right.
And they're placed probably with totally different foster care homes. And not only are they taken from their father, they're taken from their mother, and they're split from their siblings. Scared to death, re-traumatized every time they turn a different corner. So who is that helping?
Well, with the child now, and with that kind of trust and abandonment, you're going to grow up beyond the defense. You may grow up with your own particular kind of issue, and you may wind up duplicating what you saw.
Yes.
And I talk to a lot of folks now. I'm telling them, don't be arguing and fighting in front of the kids. I said, what you're doing is you teaching them. If you have an issue, this is how you deal with it. You hit somebody, you cut somebody else out, you holler at them, you scream. And this becomes intergenerational. How did you get into the subject? What made you start working on this?
Well, I'm a survivor myself.
Are you?
Yes, I'm a survivor myself. And that's how my son and I are just my son and I.
Okay.
I always knew that when I would never be in a situation where I was going to be abused, and I was never, ever going to raise my child in a situation like that. Not ever. And understanding that, when boys grow up with their dads, I mean, they want to be just like their dad. They go to school and they're talking about their dad all the time, and the dad is coming to pick them up from school. They're telling their friends, my dad is coming to pick me up from school, and blah, 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 blah. Boys want to be like their dads. So if you have a son in the home and the dad is abusive, then what type of behavior are you modeling for your child to grow up and either search out or emulate? Understanding the role that I have as my son's mother, it is my responsibility first and foremost to make sure that he is healthy, mind, body, and spirit, and safe, mind, body, and spirit. And it is also my responsibility to make sure that he has the best chances humanly possible for his future. Who he is as an adult is going to impact the rest of the world, impact his community, impact his workspace, impact his friendship and his relationship. It's going to impact society. So it's my responsibility to make sure that my little person grows up to be the best person he possibly can. So then what is your choice? Do you stay with the person who knows better and chooses to continue to abuse? Or do you do what's best for that child? You do what's best for the child. Plain and simple, as far as I'm concerned. So it took, once I knew I was leaving, I was gone. That light switch went off. It turned off. once I knew that he was not going to do the work, he was not going to change, things were not going to get any better, I had to make a decision. Like, okay, everything that I just told you that went through my brain, and that light switch went off. I immediately moved into, okay, this is what I need to do. These are the resources that I need. These are the moves I need to make. And I went into productivity mode to make sure that we were going to be safe, and everybody in the situation was going to be safe. I wanted dad to be healthy. I wanted dad to do what he needed to do, but we needed to leave.
Right. Now, did he ever get help?
No. But that was not my responsibility at that point. You know, he's a grown man. Make your decisions.
Well, it's not your responsibility. It's still something that still a person who he needs help for him, and in the end for his son, because there's still going to be a relationship there, and ideally you hope that he will get help. If not, as you said earlier, I've had clients come in and either they're going to be like the dad or the opposite of the dad. Oftentimes that's how it works. I mean, I have one guy in here. He's about 6'5", 6'6", about 300 pounds. And big boy. Not a fat boy, but just a big boy, solid man. And his wife had a little mouth on her.
Oh.
But his thing is, I would never hit a woman. Because he saw his father do it. And he never hit that woman. But on the street, he's a bad man, for real. But his mindset is, those are men, those are people in the streets. I'm not hitting my woman. And so
that was a core value that he had.
Those are his core values, because he saw his mother get beat. But one of his other brothers became just like that. So, and then same thing with women. Either they say that would never happen to me, or sometimes that's the norm. This is the way life is. This is all I know. So they grew up in no kind of environment. And if a man don't hit you, they figure, well, what's wrong with the man? He must not love me if he's not hitting me. So we got a lot of work to do in this society.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, in terms of the victim, even those men and women who violate kids, violate women, violate other men, other women, many times they have been violated.
Yes.
Okay. And sometimes we try to help folks to understand in order to forgive that this is where this person comes from. I don't mean you stay there and keep getting hit, but just try to understand so you can forgive, and you forgive for yourself more so than anything else, because you need some completion at the end. So in order for you to move on.
People have to understand too what forgiveness actually means, because you made a very good point. Forgiveness is not necessarily for the person who wronged you. Forgiveness is for yourself to be able to process and have closure and move on. Because 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get that closure from your abuser. 9 times out of 10, they're going to go to their grave saying, I didn't do it. So you have to be strong enough to be able to look inward and heal and go through those steps in that process, no matter how long it is, no matter how hard it is, no matter how dark and up and down and left and right it is. You have to be willing to do that for yourself. And whatever it is that keeps you going, whether it be faith, whether it be your kids that keep you going, whether it be that goal and that dream on the horizon that keeps you going, you got to be able to do it, because you got to be healthy. You have to get to the point where you're healthy and build that self-esteem, build that identity, whatever it is. You have to do it.
Another type of domestic violence I have dealt with that is when parents are oftentimes raping their daughters or stepdaughters or sons. Sometimes I'm thinking of a couple of folks I work with. They blame themselves for it because they started off at age 7, and at 12 or 13, they're doing it, and they reach an orgasm, and they think that I allowed this to happen. I let it happen. It's my fault. Mm-hmm. I'm a bad person. And they don't understand that they had nothing to do with that. That's a biological thing that's going on within your body. And your brain is not even old enough to even understand what all that means. And that you have actually been raped. And even then they feel like, how come my stepfather or my father or my sister or whoever did it, how come they mean to me? What did I do wrong? The answer is nothing. That's because they have the issue, but you're absorbing it and it's affecting you for the rest of your life. And I remember this one lady, she said, well, he's still my dad. And this is much later. Now she's 40. And he's still treating her bad. And she's trying to help him, even let him live with her and stuff. And he's still cussing at her, treating her bad. And he's not going to change. And every time I keep putting that person in front of me, I'm triggering some PTSD. I gotta let that person go for me. Forgive me, because I didn't do anything wrong. I was a victim. And he happened to be my father, and that's okay. But I'm not staying there. And I gotta do what's best for me.
That took a tremendous amount of strength for her to be able to come to that mindset. Mm-hmm. Because the violation between a child and a parent in that way, it disintegrates what you're inherently taught love is.
Right.
That bond between parents that models whatever your bonds and whatever your relationships are going to be with other human beings throughout the rest of your life. So, and plus as a child, you're growing up in a household where you naturally think everything is your fault anyway. That's just how kids think. If something happened in the household, it's my fault, because that's just how kids think at that age. So if a child is raised by a parent, I did something wrong to cause this.
Right.
And then that rewires the brain, it stunts the brain's growth. You stay in that mindset. And that's why as an adult, she was still allowing that mistreatment, that maltreatment from her parent, because she was stuck at that age where the abuse started, because it stops the growth of your brain when things like that happen. It stunts the growth of the brain. So for her to be, that's why it took her so long. She's 40. When did it start happening with her? At
7.
Look how long it took for her to get there. And all that time she's dealing with that.
Me doing a whole lot, I do a lot of individual counseling. I'm dealing with people who coming in at age 55, 50, and talking about the violations that they experienced as a young child that was never addressed. And many times they don't share it.
Shame.
Or another. Shame or fear even. I mean, one particular lady said that my uncle raped me and said if I tell anyone, he would kill my parents. And her father never found out until she got raped a second time. But this time she got raped from a guy when she was around 24. And at that point in time, her mother got upset and said, well, your brother raped your daughter. And her father actually died within a year after that, because he felt like I was never able to protect my child, but he never knew she needed protecting. And then of course the daughter don't know because she's scared, and then she's trying to be the adult in the relationship, and she's trying to protect her parents. And so there's no safe space. And we got to create a safe space for our kids to know, hey, if something going on, let me know. I'm there for you. Don't worry about her. I'm going to be okay.
That's why I go into the first thing I tell survivors and victims when we, these interviews, is that this is a safe space.
Right.
Safe space to do whatever it is that you need to do at the time. If we're talking about something that is difficult for you to express, we can full out stop if you need to. If you're being triggered, okay, whatever you need to do to either stop your trigger or go through your trigger, let me know. We're talking about something that's uncomfortable for you, talk about something else. This is a total safe space where whatever it is that you have to share will be received, understood, and loved. You will be loved and listened to and supported no matter what. And and these are like people who are in their 20s, to people who are in their 50s. And just for them to know that, there's times when I've been sitting here talking to survivors and they're like, this is the first time that I have talked about this with anybody. And all they needed was a safe space. So if you can give them that space over a platform like Zoom, can you imagine like giving that safe space just to a victim or a survivor in person and how that would make them feel? All they need to do is feel safe. That's it. And they're looking for that. They're searching for that in every relationship and every friendship is safety. And that's simple for people to be able to give. Sometimes all it is like a hold of the hand or a word or just sitting quietly, not saying anything, not asking any questions, nothing. Just providing that circle of space that is safe. I was molested as a child.
Were you?
I'm not sure when it started, but I know when it ended.
Okay.
I was 9 when it ended. And it was because I was taken out. I was removed from the school that I was in. And I'm just now starting to talk about that with my counselor and figure out how that ties into everything else. So I don't know yet how that ties into everything else that I've experienced. But what perplexed me was I didn't go into any sort of destructive behavior as a result of it. I didn't have any sort of dependency. I didn't become promiscuous. So for the longest time, I didn't really understand how it affected me as a person, as a woman, as a girl. But she did say that what I was sharing during the counseling sessions means that I have complex PTSD because of it. Other counselors, I was told that I was dealing with like high functioning depression and anxiety. So I was like, okay, so that's why, because when you hear about depression, it's like you can't get out of bed, you can't function, you can't think, you can't do anything. I'm like, that's not me at all. I'm like the complete opposite. But I did get the anxiety, when you have like the heat in your stomach and you can't really think straight. And so I have that, but I can still function through it. I can still channel that energy into being productive. So then when I talked to her about being raised in martial arts and, the centeredness and discipline of that and spirituality, like right. That clearly had something to do with how I was able to function and develop and interact with people, throughout my life. So that still made it confusing as to how the molestation affected me. So I'm just starting to unpack that.
Now, did you trust though?
Nope.
Nope. Yeah, because that's how. Because you would, if you weren't protected for whatever reason, then you grew up with your guards up.
Absolutely.
Okay, martial arts I can see help because you said, well, at least now I can kind of protect myself, even on an unconscious level. If someone do something, I can do something back. Mm-hmm. So that made you feel a little more comfortable. But the trust, the lack of trust is still there.
Yeah.
And to let that go and let somebody else in, that's hard.
It's really hard.
And every time you get hurt, that wall goes a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher.
Yeah, so going into the relationship where I had domestic violence, I already didn't trust in general. And then the domestic violence came, and then that just blew that up. It just made the lack of trust even worse, which I didn't even think was possible. So it got to the point where for the longest I didn't trust men at all. And that just started to come down maybe within the last 4 months or so, maybe.
Okay.
So trust has always been individualized. Like if I was going to trust people, I'd really have to really get to know them and really pay attention and really have ongoing interaction with them and really be able to see the signs. But in general, no.
Because you're always in protective mode.
Mm-hmm.
See, anytime somebody hurts you on any kind of level, you always know it can happen again.
Mm-hmm.
So complete trust will almost never be there, but it can get a lot better. And you just got to watch who you're dealing with. And you say, now, what harm can this person do to me?
Mm-hmm.
But that lack of trust will not allow you to truly love. Now, you don't have to have complete trust, but you have to have some trust to love somebody.
Yeah.
And that's normal. I went to 8 elementary schools, 3 junior high schools, and 2 high schools.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Raised on welfare, single family household, projects. I wore holes in the bottom of my shoes, had to put cardboards in them.
Mm-hmm.
I had a pair of red pants I wore to school for 9 weeks. Somebody asked me, I had 2 pairs of red pants. But probably what really got me into it is I adopted some families myself.
Mm-hmm.
But later on, folks were always asking me stuff. I had been a counselor in high school. I remember me and this lady named Linda.
Mm-hmm.
We used to talk on the phone till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning about her boyfriend and stuff. Okay. And I would give her advice. Doctor died, 17, 16 years old. that was not me, and we're still friends today. We're still friends today. And then I worked at this Upper Bound program.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I got in the field by being Upper Bound. I later became an Upper Bound counselor, and working with other inner city kids, and who have needed some opportunities. And then also growing up, you have your own challenges. Found out who my father was when I was 11 years of age, and I found out I was a junior when I was 11.
Oh.
And didn't realize that he and I never had a good relationship. Never had a good relationship as his choice, and I figured that sometime I'm like a lot of other folks. The best thing that could ever happen to me is for me not to be raised by my father, because I actually became more successful because of me not having that relationship. I am my father's most successful child. So, and so I got pointed in the right direction. Been working since I was 11 years of age, and I always had 2 or 3 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So, and with every negative experience, I use those experiences as lesson learned. I made a lot of mistakes, but those mistakes, I said, okay, then what can I do better? What can I do differently?
Mm-hmm.
What did I learn from it? And like I said, I've made some mistakes, and even how you treat folks growing up. As a young man, I'm out here just trying to meet my needs, and you don't realize you hurt people. And I remember 2 people I hurt specifically that I hurt. And I went back, and when I was in college, I went back and apologized to both ladies. I apologized to one lady, and she appreciated me apologizing to her. And the other lady I apologized to, she didn't have a clue what I was talking about. Then I had to take a close look at myself and say, hey, do I like me? And the answer was, on that particular occasion, I said no. There's some things I didn't like about me. And one of those things was how I would treat the opposite sex. And just basically being a whore, to be very truthful about it. And I said I didn't like that. And so from that point on, I said, I even quit even being involved anymore sexually. If it didn't mean nothing, I wasn't going to do anything. But that took me to constantly do a lot of self-evaluation and looking at me real closely, and it worked out, And anything that negative happened, I try to make into a positive. One time I didn't have $100 to fix my car during that same period of time. And I said, wait a minute. At that point, I had a master's degree, had a good job, but I don't have $100 to fix my car. To me, that was sick. So I had to borrow that $100 from my best friend. And so that has never happened again and will never happen again if I can control. But those are still lessons learned. And that's how I treat my life. Everything is a lesson learned.